Let's talk to Phil from Torrance, California. Phil, welcome to the Narrow Path. Thanks for calling.
Hi, I'm going to give you a report on Earth here. You're the most knowledgeable guy I know on the Bible issues. Steve, I want to know about this phenomena called the blood moon. I heard there's one coming. I've heard different views from different Christians. We've had some in the past that have been very calamitous to Israel. And I just want to know if you can give me a little, a brief, quick recount or history or your knowledge of this phenomena called the blood moon.
Well, I think as of tomorrow, I won't be hearing any more about the blood moons, because I think tomorrow is supposed to be the fourth one of the recent tetrad, if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, it doesn't matter, because I don't think these blood moons account for anything. There is nothing in the Bible about these blood moons. There's an astronomical phenomenon that occurs and has been occurring throughout history regularly, where there will be a series of four lunar eclipses or something that causes the moon to look red. And they call those blood moons, at least they're calling them that nowadays. The thing is that there have been many times in history when this tetrad of blood moons has, all four of them have fallen upon Jewish holy days. Now, some people say in those times, those years where they fell on Jewish holy days, important things relating to Israel have happened. Well, okay, maybe, but it's, none of the most important, for example, the Holocaust wasn't associated with blood moons. Seems like if God's giving these blood moons to mark significant things in the time of Israel's history, you'd think the Holocaust or the end of World War II when the Jews are freed, or the declaration of the statehood of Israel or something would be those things. Instead, people who want to make these important, they have to kind of search around for things that are not the most important things, but still have some kind of relevance to Israel. My position is that these people are distracted. They're distracted from what Christians are supposed to be thinking about. And it's the easiest distraction, the most common for modern American Christians, to be distracted by questions of end times. Now, are we living in the end times? I don't know if we are or not. We might be. I wouldn't, my authority on this would not be better than anyone else's. I kind of suspect maybe we are living in the end times. I don't know. But so what? The real question is not, is it the end times? The real question is, am I doing right now what Christians should be doing at all times? Because if I'm doing what Christians should do at all times, I don't have to worry about whether these are the end times, because we should be doing the same things in the end times as at any other times. Christians have been given a commission, and that commission has nothing to do with talking about blood moons or guessing about the future. We have not been authorized to make guesses about the future. We've been authorized to love one another, to become Christ-like, to evangelize and make disciples of the world. This is what the church is to do. And when people get distracted by alleged end times phenomena or end times events, it gathers a lot of interest, obviously, sells a lot of books and so forth. But let me put it this way. Suppose these blood moons are in fact significant. So what? Let them be significant. That doesn't change the way I'm going to live my life today or tomorrow or the next day. What do I care about the signs in the heavens? Actually, the Scriptures warn us not to regard the signs in the heavens, not to observe the stars and the sun and the moon like the pagans do. It's true. There is a reference in Joel, which is quoted in Acts, that the moon turned to blood at the time of the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. But all it's saying is that the smoke in the sky made the moon appear red. Just if you live in Southern California, if you're old as I am, you will remember times when the smog used to be really, really, really bad down here in the LA area. And there were many days when the smog, or nights when the smog was so bad that the moon looked literally fire-ink and red. I've seen it many times growing up in the Los Angeles area. And I remember how striking it was. But it's just the light refracted through the smog. Well, Joel says that with reference to the fall of Jerusalem, there will be blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun will be darkened, meaning by the thickness of the smoke. And the moon will be turned to blood, meaning it'll look blood red because of the smoke. And so this is not talking about an astronomical phenomenon. This is talking about the view from Earth in this terrible time when Jerusalem is burned down and the smoke is filling the sky and so forth. Now, I realize a lot of people think differently about that than I do, obviously. But the real question is not how many people think something, but what is the truth? And I would say that someone who studies this out will realize there's really nothing in the Bible that talks about these blood moons in our days. So I wouldn't pay any attention to it. Now, if something interesting happens tomorrow, I'd be glad to have someone point it out to me, but I really don't care. Because
is tomorrow Yom Kippur?
Pardon?
Is tomorrow Yom Kippur too?
You know,
tomorrow a Jewish holiday?
I don't know. I haven't paid enough attention to know if it's a Jewish holiday. I don't believe it is, but if it is, see, I don't pay attention to Jewish holidays. There's a certain mindset among Christians that we're supposed to be, observing Jewish holidays. And Paul complained that the Galatians had actually gone into that kind of stuff, and he said that because they were doing that, he actually feared for their salvation because they're getting distracted from Christ into things that don't matter. Paul said this in Galatians 4:10. He says, "You observe days and months and seasons and years. I'm afraid for you, lest I have labored for you in vain." Okay, so because the Galatians were starting to pay attention to Jewish holidays and special days, Paul said, "I'm afraid that my preaching to you has been for nothing." And he told them elsewhere, in verse 2 of chapter 5, "Indeed, I, Paul, say to you that if you become circumcised, Christ profits you nothing." He says in verse 4, "You have become estranged from Christ. In your attempt to be justified by the law, you've fallen from grace." Now, he's talking to people who are getting back into concerns about Jewish things, including Jewish holidays. He's talking about circumcision and observing days and years and so forth. He says, this is not what Christianity is. It's like I've labored in vain for you. It sounds like you've fallen from grace. So I would just warn anyone who's a Christian not to get wrapped up in the Jewish holidays and Jewish things like that. This is not what Christians are about. Christians are about Christ. Christianity is not about Israel. It's not about Jews and Jewish holidays. It's about Christ. And it'd be a wonderful thing if every Christian became so focused on Christ that they didn't have any idea whether the Jewish holidays were happening or not, but they were so Christ-like that the world would see that Christ is who he claimed to be. Instead, Christians are so eager to escape that they're grabbing onto every little thing that someone tells them is a sign of the nearness of the end. And I think this is a wrong focus entirely.